Very quick reviews.
This review might get a bit long, but what we're about to explore is just too good to keep short. We're heading to Palace Het Loo in the Netherlands. You spell it like Loo, but it's pronounced like Lo. If you want to sound stupid, just say Loo. Our adventure begins in the palace stables, where you'll find some really cool cars that belong to the royal family. Since there's so much to cover, we'll have to skip this and head straight to the palace. Recently, they finished up work on the Palace Het Loo. At the entrance, the square now looks interesting with a circular pattern. There's a bunch of work hiding under it that took years. They added a whole new part underground. First stop is the gift shop, packed with cool things inspired by royalty. You'll find good books and high-quality souvenirs. Before we move on, it's worth mentioning that they don't avoid talking about the not-so-great parts of the royal history, like the lives of 2 black enslaved kids who worked for the royal family. The underground part splits into 2 sections, one about the House of Orange and the other about the power of the throne. We've been looking at the thrones only briefly, because we know there is more exciting stuff to see. Moving on to the House of Orange, which seems to be on display permanently. Just this part alone can keep you busy for 1 to 2 hours. They have a welcoming movie explaining where the name Orange comes from and why the color orange is important for the Dutch people. With a timeline, paintings and explanations, you'll get a really good picture of the Orange family. Successes, failures, who lived long, who didn't, and who was the first queen of the Netherlands, etc. It's like an introduction and a clear explanation all in one. The Palace Loo is also split into 2 halves, a more modern western wing and an older eastern wing. The western route shows you how the later Oranges lived, starting from about the 19th century and going on to, well, say 1980. The older part is like stepping back into the 17th century. It's about Willem from the Netherlands and Mary from England, the first people who ever lived in the Palace Het Loo in the 17th century. Let's quickly check out the older part first. Palace Het Loo is like a mini Versailles of the Netherlands. It's full of impressive art and more than 100,000 objects, and the rooms are kept as authentic as possible. The vibe is a mix of fairy tale charm and overwhelming grandness. Especially around closing time, the light creates a really intense atmosphere. Now for the newer part, which despite of its age still looks kind of gothic. Whether you're from the Netherlands or another country, seeing the Palace Het Loo is a must. It's on par with the Rijksmuseum in terms of quality and importance. Highly recommended, even though it doesn't get as much attention as it deserves. The garden is awesome too. There's a symmetrical garden which is easy to check out. But behind the palace there's a huge estate where you can wander around. Just know that seeing everything in one day might be a bit much. I visited the palace 3 times, and I'm not even a big fan of royalty stuff. I hope you will think about visiting this palace someday yourself. Oh yeah, and don't forget about the app if you want a guided tour.